Hello everybody and welcome to Yo Pops, the podcast with me, Sean Williams, and unfortunately, well not unfortunately, but kind of unfortunately, because I know how much you all love my dad, I do. But it is I, kicking off our 2026 together. How is everybody? I hope you had an amazing Christmas, a festive period full of love, light, laughter, peace, joy, family, good food, a little bit of drink, nothing too crazy because obviously we don't want any alcoholics, but it's a little something that helps you feel celebratory. Wow, where do I even begin with Christmas? I feel incredibly blessed. My Christmas was filled with a lot of family and food and noise reduction, which I think was a massive thing for all of us. I think last year was full of different moments and seasons and transitions, many of them uncomfortable. There was a lot of kind of grief and bereavement last year, but I'm a massive believer that where there is a close or an ending, then there is rebirth and a new beginning. And I'm always leaning into the fact that we're never going through something that hasn't been referenced before. So sometimes it's about what we learn in those moments that we then take into new moments that help us to deal with old lessons that maybe we didn't learn in previous situations because, well, we're humans at the end of the day, and sometimes it's just life ain't easy and we don't learn as quickly as we want to, and sometimes we don't see as clearly as we want to. But time, patience, and process allows us to we find more equilibrium, not only within our output, but in what I call our inward regulation, right? So who we are as people, naturally, how we feel emotionally, and obviously our spiritual alignment, should you lean into that and have a spiritual relationship with God of any type of sort. So yeah, Christmas was amazing, but it also left me very excited because, as many of you know, I really streamlined what I was doing last year in terms of just kind of the projects and the products and the bits of content. And I found that I just had more energy. And I think a lot of us found that when we simplified our lives, all of a sudden it's just like, oh my gosh, I've got like another, and I wanted to use an electrical, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an electrical calculation, so like voltage or wattage, but I realized I know nothing about that. So I'll be like, yeah, I found all this new current. And then what I would say probably amount to that of a lamp, which is like maybe 40 watts. But I found way more than that. And I say that to say this, that when we simplify, we find more efficient and effective ways to get the best out of ourselves. Why? Because it's like when you've got a house that's cluttered, the minute you start selling stuff, and I've been on Vinted a little bit, big up yourself. So any of you that bought anything out of my tour suitcase, enjoy. When I go on tour, I blame you, Marshall. I blame you because you buy stuff all the time and then I get swayed like a little sheep and I follow you and then I'm buying stuff that I don't need. But to all those wonderful people to whom I repatriated some Christmas stuffs, I'll see you next year. But no, I had a beautiful Christmas and I hope you all did. Now, our first Yo Pops of the year, I kind of want to lean you into a little bit of what's going to be new. You're going to be seeing some new guests, okay? There's going to be some really cool guests that are going to be coming on. I loved the response that we all get, well, that you gave, that we all gave. I loved it as well because I was here. But I love the response that you guys gave when Marcus came on and just, you all seem to like Goose. Oh no, you seem to like a little Caribbean. So don't worry, I'm gonna jerk out the poddy a couple more times for you. I'm gonna bring some more spice and everything nice. But also we've got kind of some other guests that's gonna be coming on and lean into different spaces. We were really overwhelmed with the response, the reaction, and just the love, really. And even from the quiet period, I got a couple of messages from people just like, it feels weird not seeing you and your dad on my thing. And I was just like, you can message him, feel free. He's about, I'm sure he'll jump up. But it was, yeah, it was really lovely. And so because of the way I am, my mind was just like, okay, how do we prepare more? How do we give more? How do we make more? And I was just like, you haven't got to do anything crazy. There's nothing mad to overhaul. Just add little dynamics and dimensions that will open it up and allow people to see other people that you enjoy in your world that can also give great insight, great wisdom, but also just great conversation. So Marcus will be coming back. Obviously my dad, it's his podcast, so he'll obviously be about. I have some of my friends' dads coming on. I was a little bit sociable this Christmas, guys. Let me tell the truth and shame the devil. Your boy was outside. So I went to a couple of Christmas bashes, if you will. And I have to say, I felt very welcome, thank you. Of course, I rolled with Marcus. Brother, if you're going to go roll up somewhere you don't know, take somebody you know. That's mad, because Smiley's going to be like, what do you mean you don't know my family? No, not like that, but if you're going to go somewhere and you're not trying to roll on your own, I had to call First Lady Tanya McNeish. I was like, can I please borrow Marcus for a couple of hours? Can Marcus come out and play, Tan? So, Tanya, thank you. But yeah, I was a little bit social and it was cool. It was cool. I saw some friends and I saw some people that I work with and stuff, and it was just beautiful. So to have that moment and to be in that space, it was wonderful. And then, like I said, I got to connect with some of my friends and their parents and stuff were there. And I say all that to say this, you're going to see some of my friends' parents jumping on. And yeah, we've got some really cool little inflections that we're going to do. So that's enough of me waffleizing, okay? The last thing I have to say, and this is Vijay Prakash, you are doing the Lord's work, literally. So I've started teaching again, guys. I am teaching, and I've been, this was crazy. Don't judge me. I taught on Christmas Day. Let me qualify that. Now, my student decided to go to Colombia, okay? I don't know what he was doing in Colombia. In fact, I do know what he was doing. He's a massive salsa head. He loves salsa. But within me, I was just like, when he floated the idea of Christmas Day, I was like, I'm not sure. My rubber's gonna be about, there's gonna be lots of food. I'm gonna be celebratory. But something in me was just like, make the time. And without going super deeply into it, I realized I was supposed to be there. I didn't have to leave my house, or I should say I didn't have to leave my mum and dad's. I went and commandeered my dad's office, and it was maybe one of the most transformative conversations and sessions I've had all year, because I realized though singing was the tool and the bridge of connection, I was just meant to be there in that moment with him. And it lent me into the fact that, guys, I've said this to you before, as many of you are aware, I am training to become a counselor. And I was talking to one of my mentors, and the first thing he said, you have to have cornerstones upon which you are building the basis of what you want to house people. So as you know, I pray regularly, and I was meditating and contemplating, and I was having an intrinsic conversation, and the basis of the conversation, because what me and Jesus talk about is none of your business. It is really. These were the cornerstones upon which I want to build what I do, okay? I think as humans, we all need three things. Three non-negotiables, right? Community, the love of family, people, a tribe. Connection, it's human interaction, right? That's why as much as I love our devices, they're not the best things for us, because what they do is they simulate connection, but there is how do I put it? There is almost there's a void between us, right? A chasm between us. And it stops us from feeling in real time the healing power of what human connection is, because the reality is we're electrical beings, right? And we weren't built to be alone. So when we come into contact with people who share either the same values and sentiments as us, that's why it feels so nourishing. When you're around a friend and you have a conversation, well, you're talking about nothing, right? And I had this. My oldest school friend, or one of them, because I have two of them, he lives in the south coast of the country, like south, deep south. And we had a conversation very late, or I should say super early one morning. It must have been like 3 o'clock in the morning. And because he's my best friend, right, there are no barriers or what I call walls of partition. So we just talk crazy, and we talk like we did when we were 14. We are definitely not 14 or 12 or 11 or 13 now. But it was that moment of connection, that the feeling I got afterwards, right? It's almost like, you know when your phone's dying of battery and you get one of them really good chargers and it's like, you think you're gonna get 5 minutes and that 5 minutes is only gonna give you maybe 10%, and then it's just like, actually, boom, and that 5 minutes gives you like nearly 80%. You're like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing battery or charger ever. And you're like, how can I get this out of this person's house or in my possession? That's what that conversation felt like. And I think when we have those conversations with people, we feel that, right? Because that's something that is tangible. You can feel it. So community, cornerstone number one, okay? Community through tribe, family, friendships, friends, connection, human interaction, and nature through creation. As many of you know, and you see my socials, I love to walk. And where our office is, it's right by the back of the river. So I love to be around the meadow and then walk along the river, because for some reason, if the world is made up of three things, right? Systems, structures, and people, right? So the first system that was ever made was nature. Then you get people, and then people do what? We create structures. That's what society is, right? Then there is something within the system of nature, right? In its reflection to us, how it moves, that it only uses what it needs, that it leaves more than it takes, that it's, by design, it's meant to absorb as well as feed, right? So when we put those three things together, it allows us to become versions of ourselves that is far more in tune to what I believe the Creator intended. And not only that, our output in the world is just so much better. And one thing we're all probably looking at as we look at the news and social media and our interactions in the world is that the world is becoming more uncertain. And in its uncertainty, it feels like it's becoming colder. And when a world or a place becomes colder, it means that love and goodwill of pure intention to each other is starting to lessen. And I would like to see that heightened. And most of you know, because a lot of my friends, you all tease me. I'm not going to say what you call me, but you all tease me and you're like, you just need to help people. Like, I know you like to sing, but you just help people. I was just like, well, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to teach and I'm going to counsel, and I'm going to see if my output, not only in the world that I know, but also in my city, right? Because I think that's how you change the world, one person at a time. Intentionally interacting with them, intentionally seeding in them, and that seed will grow a harvest. And as we do, because we are a species of nomads in different spaces, even though we've all got houses and bricks and mortar, we move, right? And that seed and that harvest, it will go to other locations and places. And I can't remember the particular flower that does this, right? But we've all seen it. It's like a bit of a fluffy one. And you pick it, you find them in the parks normally. And then when the wind comes, it like blows all the little furry bits off. And then those are like little seeds that disperse in other spaces, right? And that's kind of, I feel, what my output's meant to be. That I'm meant to plant and plant and plant and plant. And then as the winds of life come and blow, those seeds will be dispersed in other places. And hopefully it will grow and give within the intention of which it was planted. So, enough of me waffleizing like some, I don't know, spiritual David Attenborough looking at, I'm joking. So, you have sent in some wonderful questions about 2026. I'm gonna jump into them. This might end up being a two-parter, guys. Let me just be honest, because as you've probably discovered from the intro, I'm in a talky mood. So let's have a look at what we have. Oh, okay. Black card or yellow card? Let's go black card. All right. Let's have a look. Okay. What does success mean in an unstable world? Good question. What does success mean in an unstable world? Okay, cool. Here's the best way for me to describe this. Most of us, in fact, actually all of us, we live in a moment of what I call variables and absolutes, right? So a variable is that a variable is the weather. We cannot bank on the weather, as we are seeing. I don't know what this new ice age / frozen digital reality that's happening right now. Bit crazy, right? That's a variable, because we also know that tomorrow we could have like crazy sun. I don't believe it's going to happen, but we could. That's a variable. Now, an absolute is I need to breathe in order to stay alive. Non-negotiable. If my airflow or my air supply becomes compromised, it is going to stop me from being able to do what I need to do. So, success, I think, especially this year, it is our ability to stop looking at variables as absolutes, okay, and to stop treating absolutes as variables. I was having a conversation with a friend. We were doing some work before Christmas, and we were at a very, very nice establishment. And this establishment is very well known in the space that it resides and exists. And then halfway through the night, there was word given that this was going to be one of the last events to happen at this establishment. And I could visibly see the distress, right, on the person that I was speaking to and interacting with. And because I'm getting a bit kind of older, a bit more mature, I don't feel the need to just go tell you what the answer is. I like to listen, right? Because when I listen, it tells me how you think. And when I know how you think, that's the biggest clue I'm going to get to what you're likely to do. And then when I know what you're likely to do, that helps me to set the path of where you're going. And then when I know where you're going, I get to ask myself, brother, are we coming? And that's either a yes or a no. Invariably, more time it's usually no, but sometimes there is the little kind of thing of we say yes. So I was listening, and I said to this particular individual, I said, I completely understand how you're feeling. In fact, if I could, I would cry with you. I wasn't really, because I didn't feel that way about it. But I understood that they did. And then I said, at what point do we stop investing in temporary situations with permanent mindsets and start investing permanent mindsets attached to permanent situations? And I could see at first it was, what do you mean? Because the investment was in what? The emotional reaction to something that they weren't ready to hear. Not a problem, because we wouldn't be human without our human emotions. However, our emotions weren't built for them to be the barometer by which we execute action or protocol. We have emotions so that it connects us to other people, so that we may be able to feel as they feel, that we may be able to share in a moment the way they do, right? That we also sometimes may be able to lift them out of something, because what? We have the emotional awareness and understanding to be present in the moment with a person, but also to provide what? Perception instead of perspective. Does that make sense? Right? So I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and they were speaking to me about a conversation they were having with someone else, and they used a particular statement. And I said very quickly, what does that statement mean to you? And I could see they were like, why are you asking me this, dum-dum? And I was like, because I want to be able to understand what your perspective of what they said was and what their expectation was. And the person said to me, good question, I didn't ask. And I said, that's something I learned last year. That sometimes I'm moving into a space where I will receive a statement from a person. So let's say a generic statement like you see someone, you say, hey, how are you? I'm all good, I'm hanging in there. Now, I know what hanging in there means to me. But what hanging in there means to you could mean two completely different things. And by virtue of me assuming I understand what you're saying, I am missing the fact that that might have been a help me. Because you hanging in there means you got one little finger on the plyboard and you're like, I can't hold on. And for me, hanging in there is just, I'm sitting here and I'm swinging, quite comfortable. In visuality, that's two completely different versions of hanging in there, right? So success, right, I think means in an unstable world, your ability to mine the non-visual seeds that help you to grow the right plant life for the garden that will become your life. What does that mean, Sean? You need peace. If all we're doing when we go on our social media apps or we watch the news is that we've got a situation happening on the European continent, and then when we look over to the strongest nation in the world, they're pulling up to other nations and going, yeah, we're going to take that. And oh yeah, you see that, and that, we'll take that too. That's enough to make anybody feel unstable. Why? Because we're taught that you can't just go and decide that you're going to take somebody's stuff that don't belong to you. So then what are we living in? You're living in a space where a person's saying, do as I say, not as I do. So then that means you now have to become the barometer by which you measure your output. So peace is what? It's contentment. Peace is not your ability to stay calm because everything around you is calm. Peace is your ability to stay calm when, and I want you to visualize a tornado. You've got a cow going over your head, the church roof is going that way, the car nearly took your jaw off, but you're still sitting here just, I've never seen number 25's roof like that. Is that number 16's dog? Yeah, it is. Let me tell you how to mine peace. Gratitude. How do you mine gratitude? One thing to be thankful for. Just one. One thing that you truly are thankful for. And that becomes a seed. And how do you water that seed? If you keep thinking about that thing, you'll start to realize what makes you thankful for that thing, which gives you the next thing to be thankful for. And as your mind keeps thinking about this thing, guess what you're doing? You're watering that seed. And that invisible seed is doing what? It's growing roots. Which means what? Oh, this is exciting. I want to break something. If you're growing roots non-visually, that means that you are setting yourself on the basis of what? You are finding foundations in the dark. Which means you don't need the visual thing that most of us judge if something's real or not real by, right? If I can't see it, then how can I believe it? That's what most of us think. Yet, a seed must first go into the ground and die. And that thing, that little sapling that starts to come out is gratitude. And as that sapling grows into a small tree, it starts to produce leaves and fruit. Peace. And that peace then becomes a contentment, which becomes your shelter. So, success in an unstable world means mining the hidden things that give you roots in your heart and your mind. That's success. It's not cars. It's not money. It's not girls. It's not guys. It's not designer labels. It's none of the stuff the vast majority of us are killing ourselves and losing ourselves to have. It's not that anymore. It's character traits that keep your heart and your mind steady and the pH balance at a perfect 7 to all my scientists out there. I listened a little bit of chemistry. And if you want to know what those hidden spiritual gemstones are, if you want to go find them, I tell you, it's love, it's joy, it's peace, It's patience through endurance. It's gentleness. It's goodness. It's a meek, humble heart. Faith, self-control. If you want to see success in an unstable world, mine those 9 character traits and watch your whole world change and watch your output in that world change. I know, a bit long-winded. Hopefully I answered the question a little bit. Okay. Now let's go to yellow or black, yellow or black. Let's go yellow. Okay. Ooh. What do I have control over and what should I release? Interesting. What do I have control over and what should I release? It's interesting. I think we're living in a time where everybody wants control, right? Because we all want to feel like we're calling the shots in our own life. And one of the most unstable feelings is the feeling of not feeling like you have a voice in, that you don't have a voice in the direction of which your life or your world or what you're trying to do is headed. Now, the thing about control, which I think is very, very interesting, is that control is directly linked to power, right? And the reality is, and we see this every day, is that us as humans, we have a very interesting relationship with power, okay? Some of us, we use it better than others. Others of us, we use it as a form of validation, which then gives us almost like this inflated version of ourselves that I've only seen 2 types of people with power. Those that use it because they understand what it's meant to be used for, and those that abuse it because they don't ever want the situation that they find themselves in and what they can do and control to change, right? And so I always lean into saying that absolute power absolutely corrupts. Because the only thing that balances power is love. I'm gonna say that one more time. The only thing that balances power is love. Why? Because real power is not the ability to do, but the ability to know you can do and choose not to. I'll say that one more time. Real power is not the understanding of what you can do, but rather what you know you can do, but choose not to do. Why? Because love, as much as it pushes us toward, it's a restraint. And when you know you can do what you want to do because you have the power to, then the greater element or management of that thing is what you choose not to do. So, for example, let me put this in simple terms. On the basis of what we've just seen America do where Venezuela is concerned, right? And I've seen a million memes of, you know, the leader of the American people talking about countries being sick and stuff. Now let me give you the complete example. Sorry, I just found it funny at the time because of just the way the meme was. Not that I find the situation funny at all. This is how you judge power in the person that's using it. Power is well within its rights to go into a place and say, okay, I'm going to extract that and I'm seizing everything connected to it. Because that's power. The balance of what I call empathetic power would sit in and say, okay, I'm going to do this thing. But in extracting that thing, I'm not going to cripple the whole thing. Because that's really what I want. This is what I can take by virtue of being able to capture what I want. But real power would then say, even though I could do, I choose not to. And that's the infusion of love within the autonomous equation of power. Because love has a way to soften a hard heart, but it also has the ability to create the strength of resolve in other moments. Does that make sense? So I think the first thing that you have to realize is that the only thing you have control over is you. I wrote this on New Year's, a couple of hours before New Year's Day. I said that the most important tool you will have in your personal armory at midnight is the power to choose. That's control. The thing that God gave us in Genesis 1:23, let them have dominion. First, he said, actually, we'll make them in our image. And he said, we'll give them dominion over the 3 planes. We are the only thing in creation that was given the power to choose against the thing that created us. So control for yourself is your understanding that your ability and your God-given right to choose is the most invaluable stock, emotionally, naturally, and otherwise, that you have in your possession. I know you want cars. I know you want mortgages. I know you want Bitcoin and investments. But my God, your power to choose, transformative. Transformative. And what you should release is anything that dulls or desensitizes your ability to understand the greatness that you were created with. If that's social media, bye-bye. If that's a friendship group, later. If that's a WhatsApp group, ta-ra. I'm being serious. Anything that diminishes your ability to choose or your clarity of who you are, or anything that stands in the road and obstructs you from the spiritual path that gives you the understanding of the pre-coding that's in you. The spiritual path, anything that obstructs the spiritual path that will stop the understanding of you getting the information of what was pre-coded in you. So, some of that was really simple and plain. Some of that was a little bit coded. But I think you'll have fun listening back to that. You should. You should. It was deep. Right. I think we've only got time for one more question. I'm sorry. I've waffled and waffled. But don't worry. We'll come back and finish these. Don't worry about that. We will finish these. Let's go. Let's go black for our last question today. Is it okay to slow down in a world that is speeding up? Yeah. In fact, this is going to be so easy to answer. Absolutely. Let me tell you why. One of my favorite movies ever in life is The Matrix. Don't worry, I'm not going to go down some rabbit hole. I'm not. I'm just going to give you a reference of something that visually happens in that to basically explain my point. Right? Now, and also this happens with people that they're elite in what they do, right? So I'm a massive football head. We just lost Ruben Amorim as well. Okay, let me not even go there. But please, Hierarchy United, sort it out, man. How many managers are we going to have, lads? And I can't keep writing letters to different people, okay? Because I ain't built like that. I was invested in Ruben Amorim. But I also am a big believer that nothing is bigger than the club, right? And so I get the whole, the king is dead, long live the king. And I wrote this yesterday. And in fact, actually, I like this because I didn't mean to have a little Man United segment, but we are going to have a little United segue. We no longer need the right person. We need the right system of management that will govern the club. Nature is the only thing that predicates culture. I'll say that one more time. And please listen to what I'm saying, because if you actually listen and go and have a look, you'll be like, that's pretty deep. Nature is the only thing that predicates culture. Culture sets standards and standards execute protocols. It's as simple as that. One mind, one heart, one vision. You're always going to have noise. It's the nature of people and the world that surrounds us. Everybody's got an opinion, but not everybody has a vision. Double down on a vision, not an opinion, and we'll be fine. And I think we might want to stop calling ourselves the devils as well. That might need to change. Talk to the guys in the... Listen, I'll get you a new badge. We'll call ourselves, I don't know, the Red Trains. I don't know. You watch. I'm going to get trolled by so many Man United fans. What do you mean? Shut up. Unless you're coming up with the deep stuff I'm coming up with to help our club. I don't want to hear it. All right? But no, to our actual real question. Of course, it's okay to slow down in a world that is speeding up for this reason. When you slow down, you are in more control of what you're doing. And in fact, this is hilarious. I was teaching a student yesterday how to run, and they are so excited about riffing and running. I was just like, slow that down. You know the old Walkmans? Wow, I'm really showing my age. If you used to press the little thing where the tape was going around, if you touched it, right, even without touching it physically, but on the outside, it would slow the whole recording down. When I slowed him down, and I was just like, the singular notes are here, 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 here. I was like, that's what I'm singing when you hear the fast version. He's like, no. I was like, yes. And in the slowing down, he was able to appreciate every single note, because now the notes weren't something to get past, but they were steps to step on to help you get to. That's what slowing down helps you do. It stops making everything feel like it's something you have to get past, and you realize that it's something you step on to get to, so you appreciate it. Why? Because none of us want to sit in a chair that we think is not going to be able to hold us up. None of us want to stand on a step that we think we're going to fall through. Duh. That's just human nature, right? But yet, we will rush and speed up some of the most important processes in our life, because we have this misguided sense of getting somewhere that we think we need to get to, not because that's what we believe, but because everything we've surrounded ourselves with is saying, if you don't do this, when you failed, or you have... No, you haven't. Of course, time isn't everlasting, right? So it's the most important commodity that heaven has given us to manage. So you have to be intentional with it, yet at the same time, it was given to you to help you as a reference point for you to see, am I en route to what I believe, to what I hope, to what I'm working towards, right? So I would say to you, it's more than okay to slow down. I would almost say it's necessary. You ever seen a car try and take a corner at 150 miles per hour and then not be a Formula One driver? And even when they are a Formula One driver, sometimes they're like, and the car is built with its aerodynamics, with its mechanics, to be able to do that. And some of us are trying to do that, but at the expense of ourselves. And then we become disheartened and sad when heaven aligns our environment to slow us down, and we think that we're being stopped or that we don't have favor. No. Sometimes when I'm driving and I'm doing the speed limit, I always do the speed limit. Slowing down means I get to take in what's happening around me more. And if I'm taking in what's happening around me, I have more information. If I have more information, I'm more prepared. And if I'm more prepared, my chances of success are way heightened. So yeah, take the circuit breaker. You need it. We all do. Guys, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me today. It feels amazing to be back. I can't wait to share with you. Also, we are going to, I realized I mentioned my boss at work and didn't tell you why. Right in the beginning, where I work, we have a new live venue, and we were hanging out over the Christmas, and we're going to try and bring you a couple of live episodes of the poddy. That's a big thing for us this year. So, yeah, we're going to provide spaces for us to lean into and lean on each other. Because I think, especially with this year coming, that we're all going to do better if we're in it together. Take care of yourselves and each other. I'll see you next time. Happy New Year, guys.